I've been reading awful lot of Abraham Lincoln lately. Mike Lee is going to be joining us here in a second. In fact, he just did, so I'll get to the Lincoln thing here in a second. But, in fact, let me bring Mike on, and I want to quote something from Mike Lee. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Doing great, Glenn. Thanks very much.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the border, but I want to say that the lawlessness in our country is out of control. I so strongly disagree with this John Boehner parlor trick, or I don't even know what it is, of trying to sue the president. There is a device to tell the president that he's out of line, and it's called impeachment, but nobody has the balls to do it. But I just wanted to read something I read from Abraham Lincoln. He said, naturally, I'm against slavery. If slavery is not wrong, then nothing is wrong. I can't remember a time when I didn't think and feel this way. But I have never understood that the presidency conferred upon me was an unrestricted right to act officially upon this judgment and feeling. It was an oath that I took and would, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. I could not take the oath of office, or take this office without taking the oath. Nor was it my view that I might take an oath to get power and then break the oath using that power. We have a president right now who is doing the exact opposite of what Abraham Lincoln said, we're talking slavery. But I don't have a right. I can convince you, I can use the bully pulpit, but I don't have the right to break my oath to correct this evil, as he called it. And yet here we have a president who is breaking the Constitution left and right, and nobody's saying anything about it. Mike, where are we? What are we going to do about the border?
Well, first of all, you're absolutely right. I'm glad you shared that Abraham Lincoln quote. It takes great restraint on the part of an individual to recognize that although he might be completely convinced that his cause is just and right, it takes great restraint to say, notwithstanding the rightness of my cause, I don't have authority to do this, and so I'm not going to do it.
Right.
And that's exactly why we've got to be very careful when electing someone to the presidency of the United States. Possession, they say, is 9/10 of the law. And there's a lot of truth to that when it comes to who occupies the White House. And we do have this awful crisis along the border, and the crisis is born of a lot of bad policies. There's a lot of politics that's bound up in this crisis, so much so that it's easy to forget that there are real people down there who need help.
Mike, you were the first guy I told that when I said I was going to raise money, and I know how strong you are on the Constitution. I know how you feel about illegal immigration. There is no way you're even soft on it. You're the first guy I told, and you were the first guy that said, Glenn, if I can be there, I will be. And, the compassion that you have for not just the illegals that are coming across, but the people of, like, for instance, McAllen, Texas. These people, the ranchers, the border patrol, the churches, the citizens, the people who have lived there their whole life, they're suffering as well.
Yes, they are indeed. I've got great love for the people down there. I spent 2 years of my life down in that part of Texas, in and around McAllen. And my heart goes out to them. And that's why I applaud you for what you're doing. I wish I could be there. I tried to work it out with my schedule. And
I know. You changed your schedule once, and then I changed the date that we were going down, so I apologize. It's my fault.
Well, I wish I could be there with you, but I think it's great that you're doing what you're doing. Because, not all of these problems can be addressed adequately by government. Many of these problems, in fact, the most significant problems, are those that have to be met, if at all, by private citizens, by institutions of civil society, by hardworking men and women who just act out of the goodness of their hearts, notwithstanding the fact that all of this is the product of some really bad policy coming out of Washington.
So here's the thing, Mike, that I've been trying to talk about. There's two parts of whether you're talking about a plan of salvation or a good country, and that is there is justice and there is mercy. It is our job to take care of mercy. It is the government's job to take care of justice. Right now, the president yesterday, his office came out and said, we can't tell you where we're sending these illegal aliens. We're just shipping them out around the country, and we're finding them new places, but they won't tell. We don't have a right to know where they're going if they're coming into our town. I live in a town of about 26,000. It's my understanding that 2,000 illegals have been shipped into my town of 26,000. What is that? And I'm lucky enough to live in a town that can afford it. But what is that going to do to the payrolls, to our schools, to everything else? And we don't have a right. And the president said they have a right to privacy, and I will enforce that right, that law. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, there's another one you decide to choose to enforce. What do we do, Mike? What do we do?
Yeah, well, this is part of the great tragedy of what happens when we have a community organizer in the White House who decides not to be a community organizer and, in fact, falls asleep at the switch on that and allows good people like you to be the true community organizers, and he's stepping in and disrupting communities by failing to enforce the law. But we do have to hold this president accountable, and we have to hold him accountable by exercising those powers that are rightfully ours to exercise. Among other things, I think we need to start withholding funding from programs that the president is abusing. We need to address abuses of power with the prerogatives that belong to Congress. But,
Well, are you referring to, because we just... The House just withheld the funding for the enforcement arm of the IRS. They just suspended funding of that. Do I have that right, Stu? They just greatly reduced or suspended the enforcement arm of the IRS. Meanwhile, we have, I don't know if you've heard this. Do we have the audio of the voicemail left by Hilda Solis? You tell me, Mike, is this a clear violation of the law? This is our labor secretary in a voicemail that Dara Issa just released yesterday.
First saved message. Hi, this is Hilda Solis calling. Just calling you off the record here. Wanted to ask you if you could help us get folks organized to come to a fundraiser that we're doing for Organizing for America for Obama campaign on Friday at La Fonda at 6 p.m. Ruben Smith, an attorney, and his staff are helping us put this together. There's a lot of folks that we know that are coming, but wanted to ask you if you might help contribute or get other folks to help out. I would encourage you to call this number, Myra Jimenez, his assistant, at 714.
Okay, so
numbers deleted there.
This is Hilda Solis, our labor secretary, calling other people in the labor department and asking for donations and organizing support for the president's campaign. Illegal?
That's a red flag. That is a really significant red flag, and I'm sure we have not heard the end of that. But look,
can I tell you something, Senator?
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that we're going to hear anything else about this. I'm not convinced that anybody in Washington is going to do anything. And that is a real, the boiling, the pot on the stove is starting to really boil, and somebody's got to turn the temperature down by stepping in and showing the American people that we are responding to clear violations of the law. Because I hear that, and Pat said, Stu said, everybody in my morning television meeting, all of them, I asked, anybody think anything's going to happen to her? Anybody going to go to jail on this? Anybody going to pay a price? No one said yes.
Well, that's probably accurate in the sense that the administration isn't going to take action against her, because this administration has demonstrated that it won't take action against anybody within their sphere of influence. They won't appoint any kind of special counsel to investigate. They won't even see to it that the subpoenas issued by Congress are enforced. And so that is a problem. And again, possession is 9/10 of the law, especially when it comes to the White House, which is why we've got to be so careful about who we elect. There are still things Congress can do, and I think it is a step in the right direction to see Congress moving to withhold funds from an agency when it disobeys the law, when it's acting in open violation of the law. And I think we're going to see more legislation put forward in the coming days addressing some of these same issues. including some of the issues as they relate to the immigration crisis.
I hope so. Senator, I pray for you. I pray for your family. I have said this on the air. I'll say this to your face, that on the air, I've said it to you privately, you are really, truly one of the most remarkable men. I have never endorsed a candidate ever in my life. I don't see me doing it ever again. But I so believe in you, and I so believe in the trouble that you are facing in your own state from those with power that, out of deference to you, will remain nameless here. But I will campaign for you. I will give speeches for you. I believe in what you're doing, and I'm glad you're there. You are a statesman. You are a gentleman. You are well thought out, and you are a strong defender of the Constitution. And I, for one, am very grateful that you are on our side.
Thanks so much, Glenn. That means a lot to me. I deeply appreciate it.
We'll talk to you again.
Look forward to it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
The damn handsome man, too.
Oh, yeah. You've endorsed him. Now he's really in trouble.
yeah.
Oh, no, I know.
Now
Has
it's
it,
really smooth.
I meant to ask him before we went, but has it calmed down at all in Utah, the bashing, the Mike Lee bashing?
Oh, no.
It hasn't?
No. And
It
Orrin
still
has
as
no matter.
intense as it was. And that was nice to not mention that name while he was on the phone.
Well, because it's not, I mean,
No,
I know
it
Mike
helps
is
him.
such a nice guy.
It helps him.
He would
It
never
does.
say
Yeah.
anything
I'm glad
like
you didn't.
that. No, he
But
would
you're
never
right.
say, he would never
It's-
even say it in private.
But it's Orrin Hatch.
It is Orrin Hatch.
Yeah,
it
it
is
is.
Orrin Hatch. Orrin Hatch has gone, I'm sure he has been a very nice man. No, you know what? I'm just going to
Leave it at that.
I'll leave it at that. Let me read
Little
something.
Abraham Lincoln.
Let me read a little Abraham Lincoln. May I read a little Abraham Lincoln? And this is the man I think that I need to be more like. Listen to way he says
We're going to have to
this.
find some Abraham Lincoln music to accompany the quotes.
Listen to this.
All right.
I am naturally anti-slavery. If slavery is not wrong, then nothing is wrong. No, wait, no, that's the wrong one. Hang on, I just read that one. Shoot, now.
That's a great one, though, for because how often do we hear, Abraham Lincoln didn't care about the slaves.
Yeah, the one you hear all the time is that he
didn't care about slavery. That wasn't what it was about.
It was convenient to help him in the Civil War.
Exactly.
Okay,
I hear that
So,
all the time.
Listen to
Bull
this,
crap.
as I want to say more about Orrin Hatch. Listen to this.
Okay.
This is Abraham Lincoln, 1854. He's very anti-slavery, and everything's being juiced up for the Civil War. He says, "Before I begin, let me say, I have no prejudice against Southern people." Now, he's up in the North. He's in Illinois. "They are just what we would be in their situation. If slavery did not exist among them, they would not introduce it. If it did exist among us, we would not instantly give it up. This I believe of the masses of the North and the South. Doubtless there are individuals on both sides who would not hold slaves under any circumstances, and others who would gladly introduce slavery anew if it were out of existence. We know that some Southern men do free their slaves, go north, and become tip-top abolitionists, while some Northerners go south and become the most cruel of slave masters." This morning, that's what I read before I started my day. I started with a little Isaiah, and then I went to Abraham Lincoln. This is who we need to be. What is he saying there? He's talking about slavery. He's not talking about, the borders. He's talking about slavery. And he's saying, look, if we weren't in this situation, if it wasn't already going on, we could easily switch places. There's some of us that are going to go bad. If we went down and we were involved in Washington or whatever, we would be just as bad. There's some good guys in the South. There's some bad guys in the South. There's some good guys in the North. There's some bad guys in the North. We need to say the same thing. There's some bad guys on our side, and there's some good guys. There's some bad guys on their side, and there's some good guys. And be able to have this in our head now, and to be able to look at each other and have this kind of language. If we can have the language of Abraham Lincoln now, maybe we can avoid future trouble. But right now, it is in me to say, everything I know about Orrin Hatch that I think is despicable. But you know what? If I had been in his position for as long as he has been, I probably would be the same kind of man he has turned into. He himself has said, I've never met a man who went to Washington, D.C. and left a better man. Well, Orrin, you never left Washington. So what has happened to you? But I'm not going to judge you because I may have been exactly the same way had I been in Washington, D.C. for as long as you have been.